So what we're going to be watching here is Last Chance Day 1, Game 3. Falcons end up winning this match, spoilers. But we're going to watch how they do it. We're going to watch the thing in its entirety, and then we're going to discuss and talk about a couple of little points here. But let's start by watching first. All right, let's jump into it. We have a 4-minute clip here. Let's just watch. We're chilling. We're vibing. Nades, who ended up being MVP of the finals, goes out there. This is really, like, there have been a lot of things leading up to this video. To this clip, rather. Been a lot of things leading up to this clip, like Dick Xavier, third party to get this position. A lot going on the south side there. But Falcons were able to just kind of sit tight and wait for all that to finish up. And so now they're in this position. But this is what makes it so difficult, right? Is you've got very open ground. There's nowhere for either of them to go, but they have very good cover on each side. So it's a tricky situation. What do you do here? Where do you go? How do you approach this? And so we're going to watch how these guys do it, and we'll discuss. First things first is it's a lot of waiting. If you're in a situation like this, you do a lot of info gathering, you wait for the right time, and you'll know when it's the right time. But you just have to wait. And knowing when it's the right time comes with experience, comes with practice. So if you don't get it right the first few times, don't worry about it. You know, you're gonna lose, but like, it's fine. Notice how Action is constantly taking shots, he's looking through his scope, he's figuring it out. He's always looking for that information because the slightest movement will tell him possibly what they're doing and what they're thinking. So there's a lot to be read from how the players move. So if they're staying still, you know they're waiting. If you see like one of them did with the car, moving it around, immediately you want to spot that because now you're like, okay, are they trying to push this? Will there be smokes going out? We need to look at these angles, you know, this, and this angle, and be sure that they're not doing what we think they're doing. You know, be aware of every event that's possible. So now we're going into stage 9, and this is where the zone and the game are kind of like, okay, we've waited long enough. Get on with it. And actually, Falcons have to move more than Dick Xavier do. And this is where Dick Xavier used the cars as a sort of play, but Falcons start smoking almost immediately here. And they're already preparing that nice spray there from somebody, probably Icy up on the roof there. And this is where the smokes start coming through, and this is where immediately those nades come through, and that's super important. They haven't just used smokes and then trying to get to the trees. They have to use those nades because that stops them from peeking, it stops them from taking shots, and it also puts them in a corner. It allows Falcons to take up more and more of that space, and Dick Xavier cannot retaliate, which means that Falcons take complete and utter control of that. So that's a really, really, really good use of their grenades and things. We can go back to that just quickly here. So this is where immediately you're not seeing any sort of hesitation from Action because they know at the end of the smoke run it's very open. They have to do something here, and it's those nades and their nade positioning. They know where they are, and so they're nading the correct spots, and they're not even looking for a knock here necessarily. Like, obviously a knock is good, but they're not looking for that. They're just looking for damage, they're looking for repression of angles, and they're looking for a way over the road. So that's where those nades come in. The fact that they got knocks is great, and they're able to just clean that up and use that as momentum forward. So a very, very good run from Falcons, and that's why I wanted to show it to you. Bada bing, bada boom, there they go. So a very, very good run from them. This is going to be game 2 of the Last Chance Day 1, so same day as the Falcons, but just a game earlier. And here we're going to see a similar thing from Voindonkey as we did from the Falcons, and we'll see how that plays out for them. To set the scene here, as you can see on the mini-map, I think purple are Voindonkey. The rest, very chaotic. There's a lot going on here, and we're going to see another example of how teams decide to hold back, to wait, let everybody else fight, and then they pick off whoever's left. So it's a good strategy. It's one you're going to see time and time again, and we have another example of that. And so this is going to be a big fight for them to stay alive here. They do get that trade. That's nice. Great little nade there. And Voin Donkey have already had a really good game leading up to this, right? They've had a massive game so far. They are still a full squad. They're going to get that res back up. And again, INWRX and Team Liquid, both of these teams have to look at each other. Voin Donkey are conveniently in a different corner. Yeah, 6 elims for Voin Donkey at the moment, of course, including Mythic, and now it's going to include Chief as well. If I remember correctly, TL had a really good game leading up to this point. They really needed the points that they were getting. And so it was a good run for them, but Voin Donkey coming in there and cleaning them up nicely. Now, this is where you really want to have a look. Voin Donkey moving across. They do try and get that off angle. It's not going to work. But again, very open. Both teams have really good cover, but they have to move forward. And that's a very, very similar situation to the Falcons clip we just watched. Nice nade is going to be a little bit long. It's all about precision. Very much about precision here. Vexy, very, very risky to do that, but he does make it, and that's where that cover fire comes in from his teammates, you know, using the nades, using everything like that. The nades do end up working. You've got a very, very injured team now. And again, look at the nades. They're not going anywhere near, but they're covering those angles. They're stopping it from happening, from any peaks happening, so that they can actually push forward. And the nades are in response. You do see them going both ways here, but the nades are so much better on Voin Donkey's side because they have that momentum going forward and they can just clear the hill, get over the top. Down goes Swain, and Frozen's going to go down as well. Voin Donkey do such a good job there, right? Because look, they're over here. In all seriousness, IWNRX should have won this by a bit of a landslide. They've got that hill cover. They're looking good, but it is Voin Donkey again with the nades. They didn't even use smokes here, which Falcons used smokes to make it almost more clear for us, right? But for Voin Donkey, they didn't even use smokes. They use those nades to cover those angles, and look where those angles are. Look where those nades are going, to the very top of the hill, because they know that's where they were peaking before. Using the information to actually pinpoint where those angles are going to be, and then clearing them, putting them out, going, you can't use these angles anymore, because if you do, you'll get exploded, right? There goes one. There goes two. Again, it shows you that damage and knocks are not the object here. The object is basically to use them as damaging smokes and to make sure that they can't use the angles and that they can go ahead, while actually having an advantage that is different from smokes, because if you use smokes, the smokes stay too long, and now once you're up to that point and you want to be able to look over yourself, you can't use the same angle because it's smoked. So at least the nades, they stop that angle from happening, and you can still see when you get there. And so immediately the push is there. Another thing. Okay, we have one nade, we have two nades. Watch, as soon as they started moving, as soon as nade number 2 was thrown, the rest started moving. Yeah? And yeah, the nades do get returned. That's good from IW. They're trying their best here, but a lot is just off on their own. They can't do much here. A lot of it's not up to them anymore. You see now an off angle, 2 over the top, 1 around, and they just clear them. And that's easy, easy, easy stuff from them. Very nicely done. Very nicely done indeed. So you see 2 for 2 there. 2 clips showing exactly what's up.